Karibuni sana Swahili Media Network. Kwa mara nyingine tena leo tuko katika big issue, lakini leo tutazungumza zaidi, au mada yetu leo itahusu beyond the blade, blades lives, not knives. Kwa bahati nzuri au mbaya, siku ya leo tutatumia lugha ya Kiingereza kwa sababu tuna mgeni ambaye si mzungumzaji wa lugha ya Kiswahili. Kwa hiyo kuanzia sasa hivi nitabadilisha lugha ili tuweze kuwa pamoja. Welcome everyone to Swahili Media Network, and today our topic is going to be beyond the blades, lives, not knives. As we all know that knife crime in UK has become a pandemic. It has become very complicated issue. Many young people are losing their lives. Statistics shows that in 2022 only over 45,000 people has been stabbed. So in average, that is about 124 people a day. So that's quite a large number, and it has not been getting better. So that is our topic today. With me, we have youth coordinator from Leeds, Brother Abdul Rahman, and co-host is Omar Hussein, who is going to be hosting this session together with me, and many other will be with us, joining us. So we will leave the link in the comment section if you want to join this discussion and contribute, or you can just click that link and join us for the sake of listening. So, brothers, welcome to our session. Let me start by inviting Brother Abdul Rahman, and first and foremost, we'd ask him to introduce himself before we continue. Brother Abdul Rahman, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair for inviting me on again, inshallah ta'ala. As the brother said, I'm Abdul Rahman. I've done maybe 20 plus years of working with youth in London, Leeds, Bradford. That's really my profession and my passion, working and giving back to the youth, inshallah ta'ala. So, yeah, that's me.
Okay, Jazakallah, Brother Abdul Rahman. Let's start with the core of the problem. We know that this is becoming a serious problem, and there has been so many stabbing. Unfortunately, just this week, a friend of mine in Northampton, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. Maybe let's start. Why is it happening? What are the causes?
I don't have the ultimate answer of why it happens and the causes, but a lot of it is to do with gang related stuff, and just youth in general having bad influences, bad role models, and being influenced by the wrong things, basically. When I speak to young people who are involved in gangs and carrying knives and stuff like that, a lot of the time their answer is just because out of protection. Sometimes you'll have like a rival gang, or somebody who doesn't like you, or somebody who lives in a different area to you, somebody who's got a different postcode to you, somebody who may be talking to your girlfriend, whatever it may be. It's silly things, really, but a lot of the times it's to do with fear and being a part of a gang or being a part of a crew, and then you have to prove yourself within that gang.
Okay. Before we continue, Brother Abdurrahman, actually, I wanted to ask the question that if you can define a knife crime, because some of us, we can just hear knife crimes, and then you're talking about people they wanted to get maybe to defend themselves, people they wanted to use the knife for the sake of robbers, people they wanted to use the knife just to protect their postcode. So if we can get definition of knife crimes, or also we have to know if we can categorize them.
Yeah, well, I guess the knife crime that we're talking about is the knife crime where you would be using a knife to to harm somebody else, to go out and actually harm somebody else. A knife being any kind of sharp, object. You hear the term nowadays of like Rambo knives or machetes and stuff like this. In terms of saying you somebody who's carrying a knife to rob somebody or to go out there to take somebody's items or whatever else, I guess the police or the legalities of it are different in terms of like, robbery with intent to harm or something like this. But in terms of the knife crime we're talking about now, it's related to the young people that are going around carrying knives and harming one another with those knives.
Okay.
Thank you, Brother Abdurrahman. You mentioned something really important, or maybe hugely contributing to this problem, that is gang culture. I was looking at the House of Lords report, which was released in October 2022. The report says that at least 60,000 children may identify themselves as gang member, or at least they know a gang member who is a sibling. This is quite a huge number. How do these gangs operate, and how do they tend to recruit these children? How do these children result into getting involved in the gangs? How does it happen?
Like I mentioned earlier on, you may live in a certain area, or you may feel as though in order to be safe in an area or to be safe in a gang or in a crew, you join a particular gang. But with that becomes an element of, which is quite backwards, to be honest with you. With that becomes an element of, if you become a member of a gang, then other gangs then target you. Whereas if you're not in a gang, you're not targeted by anybody. You can just go along your business. So it doesn't really make sense being in a gang. But a lot of the time, people join gangs because of the area that they're in, or because they want to feel that sense of protection. They want to be protected. They want to know that if they do get into any kind of trouble or any kind of problems, they've got somebody who they can pick the phone up and call and say, "Oh, come down. We've got to go to this area, or we've got to go sort these boys out, or we've got to go sort these girls out." Because it's not just males, it's females as well that are involved in the gangs and knife crime and stuff like that. But again, a lot of the time, when you speak to young people and you ask them the question, why are you in a gang? It's simply just because of the fact that they think that that's what's going to protect them from other gangs and other people out there that want to somehow harm them or take away their items, their phones, their scooters, whatever it may be. It's just a form of protection and a belonging to something.
I just wanted to add onto the point that Abdul Rahman said at the end there. He said a sense of belonging. I feel one of the main issues that our youth really have nowadays is identity issues, and where they don't feel where they belong. They might come from a family background, or they might go to school and they don't feel like they fit in anywhere, and they want friendship. And sometimes that friendship could be the wrong crowd or bullied, as Abdul Rahman said. But it's a sense of identity issue that our youth now are facing, where they don't know where they belong, and they don't know what path they should choose, and is a sense of loneliness. So that gang or those friends give them a sense of belonging. They give them a sense of an extended family. And sometimes, because you're a part of an extended family and they welcome you and they make you feel warm, when it comes to certain types like beef, as they say, or certain time of conflict, they feel like they have to show that loyalty and they have to show those family values. And that sometimes can come across as in carrying a knife and going out to do something, which they shouldn't. But one of the many reasons I feel, especially growing up, is especially seeing the youth today, is a sense of identity. No one really has an identity of who they are and what path they should follow. And it starts at home. And sometimes when you're in a family where you're being taught to do X, Y, and Z and certain things, you don't feel that that's your identity. And you start to relate, and music culture has an influence. And like television, social media, everything is just influential, where everyone is following a crowd. And even if they don't feel like they are part of that crowd, they don't want to be left alone, so they join that crowd. Do you feel like Abdul Rahman, that's one of the main causes and that's one of those problems that we face? And if so, how can we go about changing that?
Together with Brother Abdurrahman, together with what Brother Yusuf has said, also I would like to tap in there with the same kind of issue, which is related to his point, and that is social media role in that whole problem. Some people, there has been complained that social media has been used to incite violence and gang-related activities such as drug dealing or normalizing violence, promoting aggressive behavior. So the issue of identity and then as well as social media, do you think these are related, and is it true that they are actually promoting this problem?
Yeah. To answer the first question from Brother Yusuf, 100%, identity has a huge part to play in all of this. You know, especially with the migrants or the refugees or whatever it may be. A lot of the people, a lot of the young people who come from abroad or whatever, they want to identify as something that they're not. And that's one of the things I want to speak about in terms of the identity, especially when it comes to us as Black people and us as Muslim Black people as well. The identity of trying to fit in to the locality or to the environment. So identity, or the identity crisis as it is 100% a big influence on it. And also because of the fact that we touched upon it last week as well, before we got cut off, was the whole thing about Black people overall, and that it gets publicized more when Black people do it. You have that then young Black youth have that mentality of that kind of like that bad man, that bad kind of attitude where they think, well, this is what we do. So to put that and instill that fear in other people, they're happy to accept the identity of being the bad person, those who carry knives, because that's the persona that they want to portray to other gangs or other areas and stuff like that. The second thing, in terms of the music, social media, all those kind of stuff, all those kind of things there, they all have a big part to play in this whole crisis, because they help to propagate it. They help to make it shine more, if that's a word.
Yeah, they're pushing that stereotype.
That agenda is getting pushed out there. You know, that gangster, that gang, that those knives. You'll see them on social media, TikTok, whatever, Instagram, pulling the knives out, making videos, making the rap videos, whatever it is. All that has a big influence on it. And us as Muslims, we have to teach our children the identity of the Muslim, number one, and then showing our young brothers and sisters who their role models should be. You know, at the moment, what's more prevalent is out there is the shaitan. We know he's been out there, and he's there longer than what we all have been out there. He's more experienced than what we are. So the tools that the shaitan has to his disposal, and what he's using, he's winning at the moment. But we have to bring our youth back to Islam and show them who the true role models are. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I was
identity.
I want to extend on that point again. You said identity issue, and then you know how the media portrays us Black people and the Black youth. And last week we spoke about Scotland and how they have a much worse knife crime down there, and they have it's much more violent up in Scotland more than it would be down here. But the media does not push that narrative across because it's white males doing it. And I feel as if one of the things is that's that agenda, that stereotype, and we've mentioned the shaitan, and we've mentioned everything else, that even if we told our youth about Islam, they don't feel like it's cool and it's not something that's trendy, because these days, you know, that everything's a trend, and everyone loves to follow a trend, and whatever trend is popular, that's the trend that everyone wants to be. So when we speak about Deen and we try to get the youth back into our faith and tell them about good examples, they don't if you don't understand your religion and if you don't understand Deen, you're not going to think that it's cool. You're going to think everything is rules, 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 unless you learn you take the time to learn yourself. But the media, I feel, they've already portrayed that. And even if you don't identify as that, as soon as you walk outside, that's already a battle, because if you're a young black man, you're already seen as violent, and you're already seen as you've got a knife or you're out to do something, even though you're not in a gang. Even if you're walking down the streets and you're not part of that gang, you become a victim because of your skin color and because of what's portrayed out there already. So you have to have a screw face on just so you can protect yourself. And sometimes that trouble normally comes to you without you looking for it. And sometimes you can be a person that are not involved in that, but because of the area you're from and because of what's already being portrayed, that can come to you, and then you might not be a person that backs down easily. So you fall into of I'm protecting myself, and then something happens. You might get stabbed, you might die, you might live, and then that causes trauma. Where the next time you step outside, you feel as if, okay, now I have to protect myself and use this weapon because I stepped outside my house. Wasn't looking for anything. I'm not part of the gang. I'm not part of the stereotype. But because that stereotype is there, like, you got drawn in. Do you feel?
Okay.
Okay.
Just a moment. For those actually who wanted to contribute, to give your ideas, to share your opinion regarding this, there is a link, StreamYard link on the comment section. Please hit that link. You will get straight to this conversation. You're gonna be live. And also, I just want to ask the question regarding this, because we are Muslim, Black Muslim, and we are minority. Last week when we were talking, and we've mentioned the thing that population-wise, we are very minor. But then when it comes in terms of the knife crime, if you go to the prison, majority of those people commit that crime, they are Black people. And then you've mentioned about to teach our kids our religions, Islam's, our culture. Probably wherever you come from, you've got your own culture, which is completely different with where we are now. So my question to you guys, why, what we have to do as a parents, or what the community has to do to make sure these kids, because there's a kids that are involving in these crimes at the early age, 9 years old. I've seen some of the articles, they are talking about 9 years old kid has been caught with a knife. So as a parent or community, what we have to do to try to avoid this situation?
Thank you. Before we come to what should be the solution to the problem, let's make this problem very clear. It is true that sometimes people, without taking the bigger picture into consideration, they tend to kind of blame Black communities or minority people, because in England, majority of those people who are the victims, or maybe who commit this kind of crime, are coming from the minority communities. So, as Brother Abdurrahman said, and Brother Yusuf, I think, also mentioned, that this is a problem which has no relation with color, because a good example was mentioned that in Scotland, Caucasians are the ones who are the victims as well as the ones who are the perpetrators of this crime. So in my opinion, it has to do with the areas. And there are some areas in this country where poverty and inequality is a problem. There are lack of opportunity for our youth, limited job prospects, and therefore this leads to the hopelessness and frustration, and henceforth desperation. And therefore, these children in such areas, they tend to try to find themselves, to find their identity, to try to survive, to make money in the areas where opportunities are not available, and therefore they find themselves deeply involved in these crimes. For example, I have here unemployment by a report of unemployment by ethnic background in UK. In 2021, the unemployment level was at 4.5% in this country. However, mixed Black African and Caribbean and Black British unemployment level was 10.2%, more than double than the national level. Amongst the Bangladeshi community, for example, it was 12.3%, almost triple the 4% of the national level. So you will see that these communities have got limited opportunities, and therefore they're living in poverty, and there is so much inequality. And therefore, instead of blaming these sources, these root reasons, we blame the community themselves, who find themselves getting involved in such issues because there are no opportunities. I'm not trying to say that a lack of opportunity should push people to commit these kind of crimes. But what we are saying here, if you find yourself idle, if you find yourself wanting to make money, wanting to survive, and there are no opportunities for you, it is very likely that you will be kind of vulnerable into being recruited into gangs, for example, vulnerable into thinking about selling drugs already. So instead of us blaming, or the society blaming, the color of skin, we should look into the root reasons why people are getting involved in these problems.
Rahman, on your turn.
No, sure. So, you know, there's a few things there, again, with like what Brother Yusuf said, and Brother Manny mentioned as well. We can blame poverty. We can blame all these different things that are being put out there, these different statistics, and us not being given chances like other people, and so on and so forth. But the reality is, like, just look between ourselves now, like we're black males, and what is it that we did? What is it that we have done to make ourselves successful? I grew up in a you would say, not now because they regentified the area. I grew up in a hard to reach area, which was Shepherd's Bush in London. So did my brother. But again, it was down to, and it's not to say that we didn't get involved in certain stuff, because we did. But I hugely think it's down to parenting and mindset, you know, to break that. We wanted to break that stereotype. We wanted to break that stigma that, you know, all black men were criminals, that all black men were going to go to jail, you know, that me as a going to what Yusuf mentioned earlier on, that we as black people, as black men, were looked at as a particular way, you know, that straight away, like, I'm wearing a tracksuit today. That's how I dress. I'm a successful businessman. But because of the way I dress, I could be walking past somebody and they start to grip their purse because they think that a black man in a tracksuit is going to snatch their purse away. Can we get away from that? No, because it's what's going on. It's what's being portrayed in society. But again, I go back to parenting and educating our youth, and educating one another, and educating society, like what we're doing now, to say that, look, this is not okay. To take away from that mindset of woe is me, or we're black and we're in poverty areas and we're this. No, no, no. We need to take away from that. There's still people that come from those areas that are successful. Why are they successful? Because they want to be. Why are the young people the way that they are now? Because they want to be. Do you get what I mean? That's what they want to go and do. Yes, it's on their doorstep. But if they want to walk to the left, they can walk to the left. You know, I grew up in and again, it's the times as well. Like as elders and as a community, we've lost that sense of community. We've lost it. Overall, we've lost it. Because when I was growing up, the elders amongst us, they didn't want us to be involved in crime. If we tried to follow them, they'd slap us and send us on our way and say, go away, leave that to us. Nowadays, the elders are saying to them, yes, you hold this knife, you hold this gun, you hold these drugs because your sentence is less than mine. And we'll give you a little bit of change to make you be able to buy the brand new Air Jordans or the Nike tracksuit or whatever else. So I guess I think it's down to communication and morals and communication and education and parenting. If we instill that into our youth, that yes, it is more difficult for us as black people. Yes, we know this, but we can't make it an excuse. We have to fight just like our ancestors fought and get past that stigma and get past that that narrative that we can only result to this, you know. And the other question about is as well that is that we nowadays our young people want everything easy. They don't want to work for nothing, you know. And it's down to, you know, the TikTok sensation or the YouTube sensation that people are making money by doing what we would see nothing. You know, they sit down and they become successful by making a few videos, or they go viral and they start making money. Nowadays, kids don't want to work hard. Youth don't want to work hard. They want it to be quick money, just like the drug money, just like the money that the YouTubers are making just from going viral and stuff like that. The working hard for something now has been taken away from our youngsters. They think it needs to be handed to them, and that's part of it as well. They go out and they think that selling drugs and those kind of things are things that they should do because it's easy. It's easy money. It's going to get us rich. It's going to get us rich quick, and that's what they want to do. That's what the young people want to do. But again, I think it's up to us as parents to educate our youngsters. Firstly, like I mentioned, on Islam, and then secondly on community and on morals and stuff overall. I believe strongly that that's what will help. You know, that's what will help. And like I mentioned last week, this in itself is a start. Having these kind of conversations, having these kind of this open space to be able to come and let's talk about it.
That's right.
Community. Let's have a conversation and let's try and iron out what we can do within ourselves, because it starts at home, isn't it? Starts at home. We can start thinking about out there. So at home, what can we do? We can educate. We can teach our kids. This is what we need to do, and then we can go out and extend it. So this is where it starts. I applauded the brother last week, for saying, look, definitely this is a conversation that we should be having, because we shy away from it nowadays. Nobody wants to talk about it. If you see a kid on the road doing wrong, nobody wants to say, oh, you don't do that, because we're scared that they're going to turn around and say, why, what you going to do? Or again, pull out a knife or something like this. But back in the day, like if you grew up in Africa or in the Caribbean, you couldn't do those kind of stuff because the community was involved. Now we don't have the community. We don't have that. We haven't instilled that into them. We've taken this Western concept that we can't reprimand our children. We can't talk to them too hard, because if we do, they end up going away from us. But again, I think it's just down to educating one another and educating our communities.
Do you feel as if we've let our traditional values go? Like you said, in Jamaica and in Africa, there's certain things that you can't do because if you do it outside, even if you do something wrong, someone else will discipline you other than your parents. And do you feel as if at this time, especially being in the UK in a community, our traditional value of if you see someone's child doing wrong, as you said, you're not even, you know, you should tell them something, but you fear the backlash that you're going to get because it's not your child and it's not your responsibility, as if it's divided. And the sense of this society has made our culture and us youth and our parents divided in the sense of you can't tell someone else's child wrong or right, when before, if I was growing up, if I did something, if someone was just Swahili, I would change my ways because I know, oh, that person is Swahili, he probably knows my father, probably knows my mother, so I have to act accordingly. And that's one of the things that saved me from going on a different path, because if I see, okay, as soon as I know that they're Swahili, I'm on my best behavior, because I know that they're going to discipline me. And even if they told my father, if they told my mother, I'm going to get more, I'm in trouble there. Now,
Yusuf, you lost.
time is actually being broken. And
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you feel like that tradition that we have is being taken away from us, and we're not instilling it as much as we used to before?
I think we're taking it away from ourselves. It's just like we mentioned earlier on, the identity crisis, right? It's not cool. It's not cool to be Swahili, for example. Yeah, they give me the example that you said. Even the youth, if their dad, their mom or father talks to them in Swahili in front of their friends, they won't want to answer because it's not cool. Do you get what I mean? Again, it's the identity, our identity, and being proud of what we've got and being proud of where we come from and what we are. That's the problem. It's the, you know, I was born here, I was bred here. But my father, especially, I'm a mother as well. They instilled principles and morals into us that was from our ancestors and from our cultures, and we wasn't scared of it. And what we need to do, what we need to remember, is a lot of the culture out there that is famous is the Black culture. But for some reason, where we've got this twisted mentality that it's not the only culture that is cool, is the gangster culture, you know? But it's not. The culture, our culture overall needs to be celebrated more. But again, it's the identity that we don't think it's cool to be African, or to be, you know, to speak our language, to be proud of our language, because our friends may make fun of us, or, you know, that kind of stuff. But again, it goes back to identity. But again, I take it back to us as parents to make sure that your child is proud to be where they're from, proud to speak that mother tongue, you know, educate them that, look, this is where we be proud of it. And then it gives you your identity to be going out into the world to say, I don't need to be part of that crew to be cool, or I don't need to be identified as something else when I've already got my identity and I'm proud of it. Do you understand what I mean? But definitely it's a funny thing, because it's the same thing like the African and the Caribbean culture. It's all one anyway, you know. But it's the same when you mentioned about you seeing somebody from your area, or your what's it called, and you automatically behave because you know you're gonna get a slap from them. Then if your parents find out that they had to slap you, or they had to punish you, or they even had to talk to you, it's even worse when you get home. It's like you're getting,
because it becomes embarrassment for your parents. Your parents feel embarrassed, and you don't want to do that. But that lack of
you didn't want to embarrass your parents, you know. So it's gone. I think that part of our culture and that part of our identity has been taken away. And I think we're to blame. To blame, because we've come here, or our parents have come here, and they've tried to fit in. And we see that as young people, we see what our parents are going through to try and fit into society. And then obviously we are an extension of our parents. So we see that actually mom and dad are trying to be that way because at work they might get fired or, you know, whatever it may be, or talking a certain way and they don't normally talk like that. So where do you think they get it from? They get it from us as their parents as well. So again, like I said, it goes back to our communities and us and our parents and all the rest of it to say, look, we need to come back to number one, first and foremost, Islam, and then our own culture that doesn't go against Islam. Do you understand what I mean?
That's right.
If we get down to a T, then we won't have the problems, inshallah.
Mani.
Thank you, brother. So far, we have discussed a variety of reasons why knife crimes is a big problem in the UK. We mentioned issues such as gang culture, lack of identity or lost identity, or people wanting to find identity, poverty and inequality. And there are so many other reasons that are being mentioned, such as lack of youth services and community being not very engaging and so on. Maybe it's time now to move our discussion to the side of the solution to the problem. One of the very good solution which Brother Abdurrahman proposed and Brother Yusuf also saw a problem within that solution was the fact that we need to focus to make sure we educate our children about our deen, Islam. I think that is quite important because if we take our youth and make sure that we educate them about the deen, they understand Tawheed, we instill into their heart taqwa, such children will be very, very difficult to get involved in such matters because the haram concept will always be in front of their eyes all the time. They will have a clear distinction about what is good and what is not good. So I think it is not a question of telling someone, come and be a good Muslim, but it is a question of nurturing our children from the very young age to make sure that they grow up as a Muslim. Now, as I said, let's focus on the solution, and especially at the community level. One of the problem we are having in our communities, I think we will all agree on that. I'm not quite sure, but I believe so, is that our community has become a center for the elders rather than the youth. So maybe a question to you guys: what do we need to do to make sure that our youth also become so involved in community activities so that they don't have this void in their life of lacking belongingness?
Can I answer that question if you don't mind?
Okay.
Yes, please.
Don't mind.
I feel
Let Brother Abdurrahman go and then Yusuf will go and then I'll pop in to get to know.
Okay.
Abdurrahman, yes, go ahead.
First and foremost, I say this. You're very right in terms of it being an elderly thing. If you go back to the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they put responsibility on the youth.
Right.
They gave the youth responsibility. We don't give our youth no responsibility. We want to do it all. We don't think they're capable. We want to baby our youth too much. Look at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when Ali radiallahu anh slept in the bed of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How old was he?
Still very young.
9
years old. We would be saying, no, not my child. Not my child. Because we don't want to give them responsibility of it. Secondly, how many of the youth went on to conquer things on behalf of Islam? How many of them was leaders of armies and so on and so forth? So many of them. We don't give our youth the responsibility anymore. We baby them too much. We need to be taken away from them. So therefore, what they're doing is they're going out and getting responsibility and stewardship from somewhere else. They need to have it in the masjid. We need to give them responsibility within the masjid to say, okay, right, instead of the elder, the sheikh doing everything. You need to do. You guys need this responsibility. Hand over something to the youth. Give them something to do, and give them like what the Prophet ﷺ did, and the Sahaba. They used to empower the youth, give them things to do. That's what we're missing from things now. We want to do it all ourselves. We're scared to hand it over to the youth. As a 9-10-year-old, we wouldn't even want them to stand up and lead the salah, but then we want them to learn Quran. It's the elder one that would have to be, lead it. Why are we not pushing them to the front to say, take some responsibility? You lead this. You guys sort out your own program within the masjid. What do you want to do? And not only that, you guys lead it as well. It doesn't have to be a 50-year-old person that doesn't understand nothing to do with youth. It has to be them. They know what they want to do. They know what's involved in society. They know that what they want to do. Bring it in-house. That's what I would say. And take it back to, again, you see, like if we go back to and we understand the sunnah, if you want to call it, or the way of the people before us, how they used to do it, then we'll be okay. We'll be okay. But that's what we need to be doing. We need to be empowering our youth, not taking away from them and babying them.
Yeah. I think based on that, I do agree with you, Brother Brahman. It's not like we are babying them. The problem what we have, I think, elders or we as the parents, we are so selfish. And why I'm saying that, because I've been in the community and I know how the leaders are. The problem what we have, people, they are thinking about themselves. There is the income. People, majority of them, they are thinking about the income. There is the charity organization, they will offer this, they will offer that. So our kids, they are not part of that. To me, if you go African, let's say Swahili communities, wherever here in UK, you can hear most of the communities leaders are fighting. If you wanted to know what they are fighting for, it's not about fighting their kids to be promoted or their kids to get well education, their kids to become a good leader, to become good imam. No, they're not. They're just fighting for the actually getting funds from wherever they're coming from. So this is a big problem. I think first, before we get to the kids, we as a leaders or elders, first we have to sort our things out. We have to make sure we are very satisfied for where we are, and we have to give opportunity for our kids. We are going to the mosque. Majority of us, we are taking our kids only on Friday's prayer, then when the school is closed. But normal prayers, the kids are not going there. I don't know what the reason is, but majority of them, they might going to say, maybe because the kids are at school, maybe because they are at madrasa. But if we, as you said, Brother Brahman, that we taking our kids and we put trust on them, trying to educate them how to be leaders, then these kind of problems shouldn't happen. Yusuf.
I wanted to basically say, Brother Abdul Rahman, he said exactly what I was going to say. 100%.
Your internet is getting lost, bro.
A part of something and a part of belonging, they're going to go find it somewhere else. And what I was going to add is sometimes we have to tell our youth the hard truth that I was told as a youth,
Yusuf, your line is not that good.
When I'm told me there's a war in Islam. Sorry?
Your line is not good. It's just keep cutting.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying,
okay, well, we will let Brother Yusuf sort his internet for a while, and then he will come back. First of all, I would like to applaud Brother Abdurrahman the way he explained the problem, and then I cannot agree even more with Brother Omar in relation to the fact that it has become as if it's our culture to use the community as a way to benefit ourselves, and therefore we tend to want to hold on to certain positions for the sake of our personal gains, and this has been a problem, and that's why in many communities there has been some conflicts. You've got to be very lucky if you've never been involved in a community that has that sort of problems. So, and my contribution to that, especially Swahili speaking community is that I think this is the problem of inheritance. I mean, this has because I remember when I was youth myself, we kind of feel that there was a wall between us and our elders. There was a wall between us and our elders that we cannot there was no a smooth bridge for us to go on and take over or take certain responsibilities within the community sometimes. And it worked over there. It was not a big problem in our own culture. But now we have come into a country where culture is so different. What our youth, when they go out in the street, they go out in school, the kind of things they are learning are completely different from the kind of things we used to learn ourselves when we were youth. And therefore, now there is a sort of detachment between the elders and the young generation within our community, to the point I remember our imam, we were discussing about such matters, and he said there's a danger one day, and may Allah prevent it, but there's a danger in the future. These children will come to the mosque and sell these community centers. They will sell them because they are not connected to them. And then when we are gone, who's gonna take over? Especially if that community center, for example, is not a masjid. For if it is masjid, we hope inshallah it's gonna be a safe, because people will continue to pray no matter what. So and we've seen other communities has been happening. Churches have been sold. It's not secret anymore. People are selling their churches. Why? Because the generation that used to be in the church is no longer there. So those who have inherited found there are like only 5, 6 involved members. So it has almost become so useless. And that is the danger we are facing in the maybe 30, 40 years to come. So our communities, in my opinion, we need now to adapt to the ways of life in this country without compromising our religion, without compromising our own good culture, and therefore to build a bridge between the elders and the young generation, so that they feel they are part of the community. I remember there was an issue recently. A youngster wanted to get married, and he clearly told his parents, I do not want this Swahili style of marriage celebration. I wanted to organize myself with my friends. So that is where we are right now. They feel they're not Swahili anymore. They feel they're not Africans anymore. We are the Africans and they're not. So I think we need to bridge that gap. So back to you, brother Yusuf.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yeah, you're clean, sounding clean. What's
to
up,
the
man?
point of responsibility, like us as youth, we need those kind of responsibility to be given. Maybe not at a young age. You can give someone responsibility, someone that's 22, 23, and that someone that's 22, 23 will basically speak to the younger generation, youths that are younger than them. It doesn't have to be at age 7. It could just be like a ladder going down. You can start with someone at 30 that knows someone that's 25, that's 19, that knows someone that's 16. It starts. You have responsibility. Actually, as means you're going to conduct yourself a different way. If I have the keys to the masjid, I am not going to miss Fajr, because I know everyone is depending on me to open the masjid at Fajr. So that for me is a proud factor. So I'm going to go make sure I wake up every single morning and go to early in the morning to open the masjid at Fajr. And I will tell my friend, oh, if I'm busy, here's the keys. You have to be there at Fajr. It's a sense of trust. And it starts like that. And then it becomes cool to be a Muslim, and it becomes cool to follow your deen because of this responsibility and the sense of belonging that we have. And going back to my uncle said, Uncle Omar, about with parents, you can only take your kids to the mosque on the Friday prayers, and most of the time you're working, so you're not trust that I can go to the mosque or go somewhere on myself by myself, and that sense of trust of I'm going to trust you enough to go to the mosque by yourself, or you can go with your friends, or you can
Yusuf, I don't know what's the problem with your line. Is Brother Saleh on the line? Brother Saleh, maybe we can give you a time to talk. Brother Saleh, tafadhal.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa
وعليكم السلام
rahmatullahi wa
ورحمة
barakatuh.
الله.
Shukran, brother. I'm just here today to listen and learn more. So inshallah, pass to other brothers. I
Okay,
can
no problem.
get benefit on it.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
right there, let me read the comments. Abdul Chala said, Shukran, yes, we need to give our youth more responsibility within our communities. And then he continues saying that also change starts at home. Children learn from parents, but if we don't live according to what Islam says in our houses, then what we expect from a children. And then he continues saying, we as a parents living on lies and we are expecting our children to be truthful. So I believe change must start from our houses. All right. Money is your turn.
Jazakallah khair. Wallahi, Brother Abdul Chala, thank you for your contribution. And we totally agree with what you have said there. Now, I have a very important question to Brother Abdurrahman. Let's put it this way. I'm a parent, a very worried parent. I have a daughter or a son who is 6, 7 years old. And seeing this situation worries me that how am I going to save my child from these problems? What would you advise a parent of that nature? I have a very young son. I'm sure he's not there, but he's growing up. He's going to go out there in the community, and this problem is there. What would be your first advice to such parents? What do they need to do?
My first question would be, how much time do you spend with your child? That would be my first question. I touched on it before last week as well, that time is one of the most important things, you know, and especially us as fathers. We know that the Quran instructs us as husbands, fathers, that we are the protectors and we are the ones, the providers that go out and we work and all the rest of it. But how much time do we spend? So we can be worried, but how much time do we spend with our children to actually show that we care, you know? And I believe that time is one of the most important things. If you spend time, like the brother Abdul Chalas he mentioned in his comments, and we spend time with them, but time as being Muslims, following the Quran, following the Sunnah, then there's nothing to worry about, I believe. Because if we're giving our children the time, I mean, I work throughout the week. I'm guilty of this myself. I work throughout the week. I spend little time with my daughters, you know, because we're more worried about keeping a roof over their head, providing for them. But what they really want is our time and our attention, so that they don't have to go outside and look for it somewhere else, whether it be from those gangs, whether it be from if it's a female, whether it be from a male, if it's a male, whether it be from a female. Looking for that negative, looking at looking at something negative, looking at something that could be positively negative, but it's in a positive way. So they're going out finding it somewhere else. So I would always ask that parent, you're worried, but how much time do you spend with your son or your daughter, so that you can actually give them and give them the understanding that they need to be able to lessen your worry that when they go out. And I know you can't stop random attacks or if somebody wants to go out and harm your child, you can't stop that. But if you are spending time in educating and spending time being an example and a role model to your child, then that would stop a lot of the worry, because you wouldn't be worried about it. You'd know that your child is built upon your principles that you've shown them and that you've given them the time to show them as well. So that would be always my first question to parents when they come to me and say, "Oh, my child, this, that, and the other." Okay, what are you doing? How much time do you spend with them? Because it's not my job to stop them from doing it, or or a youth worker's job or whatever else. It's your job. You need to spend more time with your child and giving them those correct morals and principles in accordance to, first and foremost, Islam, and then your household, then your principles, your culture, and all that kind of stuff. So it would be spend time with them, educating them yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me go through the comments. There's a comment here from Lise that he said it's true. I mean, he was supporting our brother Abdurrahman, and then he I don't know, and she continues saying that our children want our time and attention, and also change that with us. So indeed, it start at home. This is just what Abdullah Chala said. Okay, brother Mani, now it's your turn.
Jazakallah khair for the comments, and thank you for brother Abdurrahman for your wonderful answer. We are almost running out of time, but before I give everyone to kind of provide their conclusive remarks about our discussion, I have one last question for you, brother Abdurrahman. Social media, we all agreed that social media is actually, it's a good thing, but at the same time it can be a tool that can expose a child to violence and negative influences. Now parents know that there's a good side of social media. You can open social media and watch a very wonderful talk, and you can also go into the negative influences. A young child, 13, 14, is already using social media, maybe TikTok, Instagram, and so on. What should parents do? Because should parents monitor their children on social media? Because if you want to monitor them, sometimes they feel like you are kind of intruding their privacy.
Yeah.
So what actually do we need to do? Are we gonna have to be on their devices all the time and search what they are doing on their devices? Do we give them freedom to do what they do and trust them? What do we need to do here?
All right. Before Brother Abdurrahman come through, there's the Auntie Ruki. She just joined us, and we wanted to hear if she's got anything to share with us, or she wanted to ask the question. Then we'll give it to Brother Abdurrahman to answer those questions, and then afterwards, Amani, you will try to conclude the program for today. Okay, Auntie Ruki, please.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
It's hard for us because English is not our first language, so it's gonna be hard. But
can
I'll
still
do my
understand you.
broken English. You can understand probably. So what I want to say is, when our background, when we were brought up in our communities, we were not brought up by our mom and dad. Everybody in the community, we were given the responsibility for us. I mean, if I do something bad outside, everybody will be, if they saw me outside doing something, they will not wait until I go home. They will tell me there and there. But these days, our children, I think we are only given us. Every time we talk is, oh, parents. Parents they are the responsible people for that child. But I think the whole community, people should go back the way we were brought up. Everybody, when they see a child misbehave, sometimes even the parent doesn't know if their children are misbehaving. As we know, there will be angels inside and there can be devils outside. So I think we should go back to be a community helping each other. And the other parents, when like you saw somebody's child and you went and talked to the parent about it, instead of parents supporting each other, they will start telling the child, so the child can hate you for going and tell their parents. But this is becoming like difficult for us to, instead of helping each other, it's like we gossiping, oh, this child have done that. So the children are on their own ways, I mean, now, because they don't have that guidance from other people. But if Mani saw my child and come and tell me, like, I saw Abasi doing this and that, I'll be like, why is he doing that? Do you think his children are perfect? But things like that. But in our communities, when we brought up, when somebody come to my dad and tell them, my dad will not condemn that man. He will be punishing me for what I did. He will sit down with that man who came and told him. He'll make sure that I will, so that when you go outside, oh my God, if I go and somebody sees me, so you are aware. You know what I mean? So these are lacking in our children. They can do whatever they want. They know nobody can do nothing outside. Nothing. That's what I think we should go back and supporting each other on that way. We are lacking of that, I think, in our communities, that we don't support each other when it comes to the upbringing of the children. We just leave it to the parent. Their parent, they can do it. That's their responsibility. It's not the community responsibility. And we talk about it that, we need to do it in a community, but we don't. We need to do it. We need to use our communities to go back the way we were brought up, to remind each other, to remind our children now they're grown up, they have their own kids, that's the way you need help when it comes to upbringing of a child. You can't do it by yourself. You need other people to guide you. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Ruki. Well, it's nice to hear the voice of one of a person who is a mother and who understands the parenting, and he understands where we come from and the difficulties we are facing now in our parenting. He mentioned one issue of instead of helping each other, people are talking negatively about so-and-so children is like this. Wallahi, this is un-Islamic. This is not our culture. This is not how it's supposed to be. And thank you, Sister Ruki, for such a great reminder. We need to be one community. It is our children, not my children and Auntie Ruki's children and Brother Abdurrahman's children. They are our children. We need to work together to make sure that we move our community forward and we help each other to make sure that our next generation is not like us, but rather they are better than us. Jazakallah khair for that. Brother Abdurrahman, back to you in relation to the question I asked you before in relation to social media. What do we need to do there?
I would say that as parents, we definitely should be monitoring what our children are watching, what our children are doing. They didn't go out and buy the phone or the computer themselves. We bought it for them, very expensive ones as well. So again, it's our responsibility to monitor what it is, and there's so many apps and devices that we can use as well to filter what our children see, and just the simple word as well, that is, no, you can't have an account on TikTok, or no, you can't have an account on Instagram, and not being afraid to do that out of worry that your child is going to go and do it anyway. But again, it goes back to the fact that if we have that relationship with our child and they have that understanding, we have that understanding within our household anyway, then it shouldn't be a problem to have those open and conversations with our child. No, you're not able to go on Instagram until you're this age because A, B, C, and D. Not just being the parent that just says no without an explanation. Sometimes we feel as though, I definitely grew up where my mom said no, and it was no. There was no explanation behind it, and we didn't understand that. So we might have gone out and done it. But if the conversation is had, again, giving the child the what's the right word? But believing in our child to know that we can have a conversation and they'll have an understanding. Look, you can't have this because there's some bad things on there that you could see. And if you're going to be watching it, you have to watch it in my supervision. What's wrong with having that kind of conversation with your child? Not just by saying, no, you can't do it. Having that kind of dialect with your child, but definitely 100%, you should be in control of that because they are your child. I think the Western world has taken away from the fact that a child belongs to you as the parent, because in England, the local authority can come and take your child away from you right now. So that fear in us that we want to pander to our children, and that's one of the signs of the day of judgment, that the children become the parents. So we should be worried about that, you know. So definitely we need to take that ownership back, like the sister said. And it's an old African proverb, isn't it, that it takes a village to raise a child. We need to, even within ourselves, even like I mentioned earlier, if it starts with just your community, right? You have a community, and it's okay for me to reprimand your child, not talking about going up and slapping them up or whatever, but saying, yo, Abdullah, no, you can't do that. And that child has a fear that I'm going to go and tell his father, and that their father is going to you know, not come to me and say, you can't tell my child what to do, your child's doing this, that. And we need to take that back. As Africans, we need to take back our culture, especially within our communities. It's okay for such and such to be reasonably chastise or punish your child, or even talk to them. Definitely we need to take that. We need to take that good that we have. Brother, how long do we have left on this live?
We've gone past our time. It's not bad.
I just wanted to say that there's a few things like what I mentioned in the beginning about educating our children and having the identity. And yes, we have our cultural and cultural identity and our ethnic identity, but this is an Islamic forum, right? And a lot of the time, what is seen is that we as Black people don't have we don't have a say in Islam. It's either the predominant ones are the Asians, the Pakistanis, the Indians, the Arabs, you know, that type of thing. So I think there's two good books that I have here. I don't know if you can see them. I'll put them in the comments because my background's stopping me from seeing it. It's
okay.
Centering the Black narrative, Black Muslim nobles among the early pious Muslims, and the virtues of Blacks and Abyssinians. And this is a book by written by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi. And again, taking back and empowering our youth through our Blackness and what our Black and noble Sahaba did for this ummah, did for us to be able to practice today, so that it gives them an identity that they're not afraid to be Muslim. Because a lot of the time they maybe see it as we're not, you know, they take away the identity. It's been somewhat Arab washed or whitewashed or Asian washed. It's taken away from our Blackness and what the Blacks actually did, and the Black Abyssinians, the Black Africans. Adam in the Quran, it says that he was a Black man. It's getting them to understand and identify with that book, the Quran, and identify with those Sahaba who actually were Black and did great things. Then they would have an identity that they can go out and stand and be proud and say, look, I stand firm upon this because of the fact that it came from somebody who looked like me. Do you get what I mean? So as well, in our madrasas, in our households, we need to be letting them know that you can be Black and proud, and you can be Black Muslim and proud, and that within the Quran it talks about Adam being a Black man, that he was molded from black clay. So what was he? Was Black. Many of these Black Sahaba and prophets and so on and so forth, making them know that you can be Black and proud. You don't have to have that narrative that you have to be Black and a gangster. You have to be Black and carry a knife. No, you can be noble. You can be Black and noble. And there's a very good series on that on YouTube by Umar Suleiman called The Black and the Noble. Absolutely fantastic. I didn't know, you know, I named my daughter Samaya, Maya, and that Samaya was a Black woman. I didn't know that. She didn't know that. It's just letting our children know that many of these people who are spoken about, they weren't Arab and white, or they weren't Asian and whatever else. They was actually Black. So taking back our identity so that our children can be proud and don't have to pick other identities to say, actually, we have to fit into this. No, we can be Black and proud, and Black and Muslim and proud too. So those books, I will give it to you so that you have them. and we should be teaching that in the madrasas, and we should be teaching that in our homes, that our
Inshallah.
identity, an Islamic identity, a black identity, a cultural African identity, and you know, they will be the best individuals they can be, and they can put down the guns, put down the knives, leave the gangs alone, and be themselves, inshallah ta'ala.
Shukran.
Jazakallah khair. Shukran, Brother Abdurrahman. We thank you, and we hope you're going to be with us again and again in the future. But before we put our closing remarks, I would like to give every participant at least a minute to give his own or her own summary. Inshallah, we'll start with Brother Omar Hussein himself.
Thank you, Abdurrahman or Man Muhammad. The good thing is this program, we wanted to let people know that this is specialized for our youth. So if we'll have youth coming to this program, and this program is going to be every Saturday from 2 to 3 o'clock, and it's going to be alive. So whoever have anything wanted to contribute the topic, wanted to share the idea, advice on anything, please, you are allowed, come and join us with this conversation. As Brother Abdurrahman said, that it's very good to have a kind of platform so that we can get an opportunity to educate ourselves. Also, regarding the topics, we have a lot of topics which think the society being affected. So we have to invite specialists. Maybe it doesn't have to be based on religious itself. If we have a doctors, we have professors, we have maybe bankers, everybody who have got any sort of education or ideas of what to educate the community or society, please, you are welcome. Normally, you just contact us through our the contact which is going to be passing underneath there, and then we will just give you that opportunity. You can come and talk to us and try to educate the community. Or me, actually, I don't have much to say. So, Brother Abrahman, if you can pass to another person.
Thank you.
Antiruki, maybe.
Thank you, Antiruki. 1 minute, please.
Okay, thank you. I don't have more to add, but what I said, like, we need to support each other, and our community need to start helping each other in any ways, helping parents, help young. I know we started that. We're gonna start doing that for our young kids, especially at our Nur community. So we need to make sure that we implement everything that we say we're gonna do, and not saying it, but make sure we follow it up and help each other, support each other, and and make it open for every parent who have any problem. They can come and share, or that's what I want to say. Like, yeah, thank you.
Jazakallah, Antiruki. Jazakallah khair, Sister Ruki. Antiruki, she is famously known as one of the very active member here in our community, Nur community in Leicester, and we thank her for coming on and contribute. Brother Saleh, anything to add? Just a minute.
Naam. Thanks to give me chance to fit in this program. To me, no much to say, but the only what I wanna say, brother and sister, we have to join our youth. They may go a lot of question behind, we don't know. So let's join with our program. They can ask and then can get solution for that question. Thank you. Appreciate for that program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Saleh. Finally, I would like to thank everyone who participated in one way or another in our session, even by just listening or watching. And but I would like to especially thank our Brother Abdurrahman for accepting our invitation. And as I said before, I hope Brother Abdurrahman will be with us again and again to help us, to contribute, to guide us as well. Our topic today is if you join us late, we were talking about knife crime in UK and how to serve our own communities, our own young generation from that problem. We discussed so many things. What were the causes? We talked about poverty and inequality. We talked about gang culture is one of the reasons, social media, and many other reasons. And also we proposed some few solutions, especially at the family level. And so if you join late, you can go back and watch it again. Thanks everybody for your contribution. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.